Hello YouTubies, this is Joker Scribe, and thank you for watching one of my incredible, informative and bodacious YouTube videos. So I've been looking around on Yahoo and various other sites, and I usually go onto them for a laugh because I want to see what rubbish they're writing about, what non-stories, lions roaring at cars, and suddenly it's a big deal to the Yahoo community. But I came across a story, well, it's not really a story, it's a video that looked like it was for a documentary actually. It's quite a long video, and it was made by Money Matters or some weird style like that, Money Savers I think. I'll put the link down below, of course. Well, I watched the documentary, and then I was just thinking while watching it, they're coming out with all this we're in debt crisis. And they're showing that, the UK and the world global crisis is happening, and all countries are going into debt. And they talk about nothing but that, they keep on going on about it. Debt, right, okay, whatever. And they're saying that they're part of this new movement, we are here to help you, you need to be informed about this, even though the newspapers, the tabloids, and all the media has been saying it for a long time. These money savers, whatever website, is what really matters, that they're really there to help you. Well, they really say nothing in this. I'm not sure if it's a documentary or just a video, but it looks like it's for a documentary style, but it's not said that way. But they never actually hit upon one question, and this question is the question that should never be asked. Because if it's asked, it will wake people up. They talk about debt non-stop. They say David Cameron's causing more debt, and indeed he is causing more disruption and misery among different people. And they're saying he's going to cause 700 billion more debt. But my question, and I have asked this before, is who or whom do we owe this money to? Can anybody answer that question? Whom is the money owed to? Please tell me who. I'll be very interested, because if they're owed £1.4 trillion by the UK, trillions upon trillions of dollars by the USA, trillions upon trillions upon trillions by worldwide measurements, then somebody out there is really, really rich, no doubt about it. And I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with all this money, but they're asking for it, and I want to know who it is. Because the banks were in global crisis, right, allegedly, and they're saying they're going under, and we have to save them, of course. And we owe this money to somebody. Now, the only plausible thing I can see is it's some type of media spin, but there are people saying we owe the money to ourselves, right? So if that's the case, the working class and the lower class, let's say, owe the money to themselves, because obviously their higher ups have money anyway and always will do. So we owe the money to ourselves. And according to statistics, 85 people in the world own the same wealth as the poorest 3 billion. I'm talking about the richest 85 people in the world own the same wealth as 3 billion people. The bottom 3, of course, but they still own the same wealth. And it appears that the money is owned to those 3 billion people, right? So obviously somebody's stealing from them, but they're talking about this benefits and all this going on, and most countries, some countries don't even have proper benefits anyway, so it's a non-story. Still, I've got to ask the question, who do they owe the money to? So, if we owe this money and there's not really a clear-cut idea who it is, then why should it really matter? Now, I understand that people's benefits, people's pensions, which is the largest amount going towards it, needs to be paid, but you have to look at money in a different way, in a different type of light, and I like to think outside the box sometimes. I like to look at the small parts of the story that are not mentioned. If you go back hundreds of years ago, farmers would have been ploughing with their bare hands and maybe a calf or whatever, maybe a horse. And if you go back a couple of thousand years ago, they would have been farming with just some tools, which would have taken thousands of people long hours to farm a single field that one harvester can do in a day. So you can see the big difference. So of course, as technology increases, you need less people working. Now, isn't that interesting? Also, just look at it this way, computers. Right, so you need less secretaries, less people filing and sorting out the files, and librarians, so to speak. I'm not sure exactly what you would call those type of organisers, but people who look for things, you need less of them because the computers can do it for you. Of course, you could just have a couple of people working on computers who are experts of it, but computers changed the world again. And then we've got machines, we've got cars that have changed the world, so you don't need people, you know, coming down with horses on carts, and we've got big trains that do it for them, just one man driving it or two. So work is constantly being changed by machines. If you go into factories, there's a lot of machines going on about nowadays, and machines do most of the work. You look at the things that are, you know, doing the strawberry jam jars, etc. It's all machine operated. Even the things that are doing the slaughtering, you know, they've got chickens on the end of the line, cutting its heads off. I don't necessarily think that's a great thing, but people have to be fed, of course. And, well, you know, it does take people out of jobs in a sick way. I do think it has to be done in a humane way, but this takes people out of jobs. Some people might enjoy that sort of work, I don't know. And you've got farmers, and they've got machines to kill the calves, etc. And of course, for the bigger animals, they still have good employment for anybody who's sadistic enough to actually go there. But that's a different sort of story. But it matters. It matters because you look at the machines and how much work they can do compared to one man. They can take 1,000 people's jobs quite easily. You look at Tesco's and Asda and all these other stores, and they've now got these automated checkout systems. So people, just one operator on about 20 of them. So they're cutting down the staff in those places too. They just need a couple of security guards to take care of the rest. So, and the security guards are wonderful because now they can check to see if people are taking things. They've got more security at these stores. So, as technology increases, gets better, the population of working force gets less, even if the population itself increases. And this is why I hate this sort of thing, because you know for a fact that the jobs are going to get less and less and less until something changes, until something creative happens. And that doesn't seem to be happening because this government seems to want to make people depressed all the time. And they talk about debt, their national debt, which is a load of BS. I know people are owed certain money every week, you know, and they have to pay that. But this money game is a sort of concept. But it works. It's a concept that's been going on for such a long time that it is real. You know, if you get money in your hand, you can get stuff with it. Of course, I mean, you might get a few funny buggers who, you know, might mess with your head now and again, you know, some psychos. But on the whole, you can get things with that money. And in that way, that means money is real. But the whole thing about money, the whole way it works, you know, with these jobs, you know, people are getting paid a certain salary to build a house, and then that house takes 20, 40 years to buy. Yeah, so they get paid less for what they are actually doing compared to somebody at a checkout. But a person at a checkout is selling products, and I always feel that the work effort is never paid enough, and that's why the rich always get richer, because that work effort is worth something, and you'll only get paid 5% of that work effort. And of course, that means people do get rich. What I mean by that is, of course, if you're building a house and you get 20 men doing it, and it take 6 months. It could take, well, they could take about 4 weeks, some of them, I don't know. Some of them take just a couple of weeks to put up a whole skyscraper in China. And, you know, it could take people decades to pay that each flat off. And, you know, it's only taken a team of about 30, a couple of weeks to put it up. So, obviously, the effort's not being paid in full. And that's the same no matter where you go. So as technology increases and people do work, the work is never actually paid in full. I'm just saying that it's hard to explain, but you know, I know what I'm talking about in that perspective. Right, let's talk about the debt. So who do we owe the money to? Well, it appears that we owe the money to ourselves, as some people have said, in a small amount. We also owe it to the bankers. Now then, this is where it gets very interesting, because the bankers are the ones who put us in this crisis in the first place. So always follow the money. Always follow the politicians and the money, and you will find the evil in the world. They're claiming that there's a big crisis going on, and they've got to stamp on the ball. It's the Paul's fault, even though they caused it. I mean, it's nobody ever asked the question, who do we owe the money to? Nobody ever asked, because they are some rich people if we owe that much money to. And I can't see all these people owing that much money to these bankers. I really can't see it. And if they paid it, what then? It doesn't make sense to me. If you paid it, you just go have some richer people and even poorer people, because if you pay them all that money and you've got less money and they've got more money, and because of the way inflation works, they'll buy what they want and you'll struggle to buy what you need. They get richer and you get poorer. That's as simple as it works. And if you believe in this national debt crisis, which I do not, I think it's all propaganda spin. If they say we're in a debt, if we're in a recession or depression, then we're in a recession or depression. It's that simple. And it's so interesting that Google came up with this zeitgeist thing where they're talking about bankers and they're talking about all this stuff going on. But, you know, they lied through their teeth on most of it. What they didn't mention is who the money is owed to. And because of that, I know they are part of that propaganda. And that was a sort of advertisement for what was to come. They wanted to advertise the recession before it came. Isn't that right, Google? Yeah. So that's exactly what you wanted to do. Now, a bit tired because I've been, you know, working myself. But, you know, all this crisis going on, don't believe a word of it. You know, just get on with your own life and just enjoy yourself. Now, don't ignore it. I know people out there on YouTube saying, oh, the psychos and psychopaths, we should, and all these psychopaths in charge who are doing all this recession business, etc., we should totally ignore it. If you ignore it, they'll fuck you in the ass even harder. And you'll realise it soon enough. They'll make sure you notice. They'll take away everything of yours. They'll put you on the street and they'll make you notice. So you pay attention to it, but you don't give them any credit for it. And the way you do it is you get people to understand what's going on, and you also, you know, try to reason a better society. But I don't understand why we just didn't let the banks go bust. That would have been a bit better. That would have worked a bit better. But it does appear that this has all been orchestrated. This has all been made by the political system that wanted to create the recession, to make people poorer and to work harder. And that's what it seems to be all about. And as for this, I'll probably talk about that in a different video. But, you know, David Cameron is a bit of a douchebag. Yeah, he's a fruitcake. And he knows it. Alright, so, yeah, the recession I do not believe is being told in a truthful way. Just one more thing I'd like to mention, right? I was going to mention this in a different video, but I'll mention it now. If I can remember what I'm about to say.